I have all of the things that I need ready for canning beans. I have my pressure canner warming up. I have hot water ready to fill my jars. My lids are warming up. I've got my warm jars here. My green beans are snapped and washed. I've got the salt that I need and my rings. Everything is here and ready to go. So what I'm going to do, just start adding the beans to it, and I just kind of shake them down in however they will fit the best. Okay. Now, as I'm filling them, I want to make sure that I am not getting the jars too full, because when you add water, the beans are going to float, and when you're canning them, you don't want them floating up and down, hitting that lid, because they could affect the seal on the jar. I do try to get as many as I can in here without overfilling it. We've got a large family. Every time we eat green beans, we use a jar. So I try to get them as full as possible. Okay, this amount of beans that I have left is not enough to fill another jar, so I'm just gonna set these aside. They're already clean and snapped, and we'll probably wind up having these for lunch tomorrow. So the next thing I'm gonna do is add salt to each jar. For quarts, it is a teaspoon of salt, and I just use the canning salt. And that way I know I'm using the right thing, and I'm not gonna have a problem with my jars getting cloudy or anything like that. Okay, so salt in each one. Then I'm gonna go to my hot water, and I'm going to fill each jar with 1-inch headspace. Then I'm going to use the same tool that I used earlier for my salsa to get the air bubbles out. I just wiggle it around the outside and try to get the beans to wiggle and send as many air bubbles as I can up to the top, so that I have the most accurate headspace that I can. Then I make sure all the beans are down. And this is where I have a really bad habit of overfilling my jar. Then I can use this to measure my 1 inch, and that looks great. I am going to go ahead and wipe these rims and get the lids and rings on and get them set down in the canner. Sometimes canning can sound intimidating, but once you learn the process and you know that you have a safe recipe and a safe process, once you get used to doing the process, it just kind of becomes second nature. Okay, one more out. There we go, that looks great. Okay, go ahead, turn these off because I don't need them to keep heat. Lid, ring, and down we go. I am using the same canner that I used earlier for my salsa, but this time it is going to be used like a pressure canner. Green beans have to be pressure canned in order to be considered safe. So I am going to use the exact same canner. I've got my jars in. I'm there. Okay, put my lid on. I've got my jars of green beans in the pressure canner with the lid on, and I have raised the temperature so that the water will start boiling and create that steam and the pressure that we need to get these green beans to a safe temperature. Once I have steam coming out the top vent here, I know that my canner has come up to pressure, and I can add my 10-pound weight to the top. And once my weight starts rocking and jiggling, I will know that it has come up to the right pressure and that I can start my 25 minutes of processing time. Okay, we've got steam coming out the top, so I know that it's up to pressure. I am going to use a hot pad to put my weight on. It's on. Now, every pressure canner is going to be a little bit different, so make sure that you are using the directions that come with your canner. Here you can see that it is hissing and jiggling, moving up and down. That means that it has come up to pressure, so I am going to turn the heat down. I don't want it to stay at a constant high pressure where it's constantly releasing pressure. I want it to just kind of jiggle and hiss a few times per minute. So as long as it's staying like this, I know that it is at the correct pressure for processing, and I have set my timer for 25 minutes. Once the beans have processed for 25 minutes, I am going to turn the heat off, which means this will no longer be jiggling and this pressure valve will be dropped down. Once it does that, I will take my weight off and then I will take the lid off. But for now, I am just going to leave it completely alone and let it come down to zero pressure as it cools off. Good morning, everybody. As you can see, I am not in the kitchen right now. My green beans got done so late last night that I was just really ready for bed, so I took them out of the canner and let them sit overnight last night. Then when I got up this morning, they had cooled completely and I was able to take the rings off and get the jars cleaned up and brought downstairs. So I thought you guys might like to take a look at our food storage area downstairs. Let me get the camera turned around and I can kind of show you what we have right now. This shelf is actually the first beans that I canned this year, and I've got them up next to some pickles and relish that we have left from last year. So this is what we're going to be using up first. Then I've got the pickles that we've made, and then down here I've got some jelly and apple butter and things that we have from last year. And then at the very bottom, okay, down here at the bottom, these are the jars of green beans that I've been canning. And then I've got some empty boxes because these wire racks, the jars kind of tip and they don't set level. So I either put the cardboard on the shelf or I leave them in the boxes to sit. Now, I was really excited because when I brought my jars down here to get them all organized on the shelf, I started counting and realized that I have hit my goal of 52 quarts of green beans canned for the year, which means now I am done canning green beans and I am going to be moving on, focusing more on the tomatoes and the other things that we have ready. But I was just so excited and so thankful that I actually hit the goal that I set, and we did it fairly quickly. We've had a really good year for green beans. Next to the green beans and pickles that I have, this is where I have been storing our tomato products. So right here, this is a few things that I have left from last year that we need to use up first. And then I've got one batch of tomato soup. It made 7 pints. And then I've got some tomato sauce. And the next shelf is all salsa. We've done a few batches of mild salsa, one batch of spicy salsa. And at my last count, I believe we had about 40. Maybe it wasn't quite 40, but I am so close to the jars that I want of salsa. I'm almost done canning salsa. And then down here, I've got stewed tomatoes, which really is basically my salsa recipe, just with Italian seasoning instead of the Mexican flavors and hot peppers. I need one more batch of stewed tomatoes, and I'm getting really close to that. And then on this shelf, I'm starting to have some overflow where I'm kind of running out of room. So our shelves are getting really full really fast. We're gonna have to do some more organizing to make sure that we have room for all of our jars, because I do have a few more things that I need to can. But for the most part, we're really hitting the marks that we wanted to hit this year. Our garden has done so well this year, and I'm so thankful that I've been able to put up the food so far that we've been able to. I will say this real quick, for those of you who are brand new and have never done this before, when I first started canning, 1, I called my mom a lot. 2, I had water bath canned before, but I had never pressure canned, and I was a little bit nervous. Not so much about the pressure canner exploding or anything crazy like that. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it properly and following safe instructions. I would hate to spend all this time growing and canning food and then have something go wrong and not be able to use it, or worse, make somebody sick. So if you're brand new to canning and you feel unsure about it, 1, if you're in the area, I would love to help you out. But 2, if you're interested in like step-by-step on how to water bath or pressure can, I want to recommend the Homesteading Family's canning course. Carolyn and her husband Josh have what they call the School of Traditional Skills, and they have so many courses about many different homesteading skills. But specifically, their canning course is so helpful. Carolyn has so much knowledge and has shared so much information about not only the procedure, but the science behind it and why it's so important to do it right. She has step-by-step video tutorials, and I would just really recommend going to the Homesteading Family School of Traditional Skills and checking it out. It's definitely worth a look. If you know someone who's interested in homesteading or canning, please make sure to share these videos with them and subscribe to the channel to see more like this. Thanks so much.